Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news that I'd like to brief you all on today. So, lots of huge news coming out from this war, guys. We've got a ton of things to dive into today. We're going to start off talking more about the energy truce between Russia and Ukraine, where apparently both sides are not supposed to be attacking each other's energy infrastructure. We have a very big update that we're going to start off with today's video. You can see here on your screen. Ukraine's foreign minister, Sibia, that's Andriy Sibia, says Russia shelled the energy grid in Kherson. Some 45,000 residents of Kherson were left without electricity after a morning Russian attack on one of the city's power facilities, Foreign Minister Andriy Sibia said on April 1st. Okay, so this was just announced today. There was a joint conference being held with the foreign minister of Lithuania and also Andriy Sibia. That's when he announced this. I'll show you guys a video clip of him stating this here in just a moment. We also have Annalena Baerbock, the foreign minister from Germany, also arriving in Kiev today as well to show support for Ukraine. And also she announced a major military aid package and also some major funding for Ukraine in the near future as well. So we're going to talk more about this energy truce, and it looks like this thing is just completely collapsing and falling apart. I know a lot of you might say, well, there is no energy truce. Has been going on from the very beginning of this whole announcement of this energy truce, and I totally get that. But apparently, what's supposed to be happening right now is both sides are not supposed to be attacking energy facilities, whether it be oil and gas industry or energy grids inside of Ukraine. Either way, this is not supposed to be going on. Okay, so we also have Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, reportedly he gave a list of violations from Ukraine's side also to Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor in the United States, to let him know that Ukraine is also violating this truce. So it looks like this thing is completely collapsing and falling apart. We're going to talk more about this today, and I've got numerous other things that I want to share with you guys to get into with this update. So let's go ahead and hop into this. We'll jump on over here to X, and I've got a lot of news to share with you here. This could be from next to energy truce collapses. 45,000 lose power in Kherson strike. Russia continues to violate the post-Riyadh agreement not to strike energy infrastructure, said Foreign Minister Andriy Sibia. New attacks damage facilities in Kherson, Kharkiv, and Poltava. Today's strike on Kherson left 45,000 people in the dark. Okay, so real quick before we watch this video, I do want to note, as far as I know, this is a second strike on Kherson because I believe it was last week, if you guys remember, I gave you an update that Kherson was being shelled with artillery for like more than an hour. I had videos coming out from that area that I showed you guys of homes being damaged over there. And reportedly, Zelensky at the time, that same day, has stated that an energy facility in Kherson had been damaged due to artillery striking one of the energy grids over there. Okay, so now we're hearing this report again. Okay, so I believe this is a completely separate report from what we heard last week. Just want to clarify that with you guys. So 30 seconds, take a look at what the foreign minister of Ukraine has to say.
Після Ер-Ріаду одна з домовленостей зі США була про ненанесення ударів по енергетичній інфраструктурі. Водночас Росія продовжує порушувати цю домовленість. Вже були пошкодження енергетичних об'єктів в Херсоні, Харкові та на Полтавщині. І сьогодні вранці черговий російський удар пошкодив енергооб'єкт в Херсоні, залишивши без світла 45 тисяч мешканців. Після Ер-Ріаду.
All right, so 45,000 people in Kherson once again without power, and we've seen this many times, even in Odessa. He's talking about Poltava, Kharkiv here. We know Poltava had like some gas facilities that were being attacked right around the time that this was all being announced. We even heard on the same night, pretty much a few hours after the Riyadh talks in Saudi Arabia were taking place, and supposedly Russia had agreed to an energy truce. We had an energy facility over in Sloviansk being attacked in the Donetsk region as well. So we've seen this multiple times coming out from the Russian side where supposedly Ukraine's claiming that their energy grid is being targeted still, even though this truce is supposedly being upheld right now. Okay, so I've got more updates on this for you guys. Now for Max 24, Ukraine and the U.S. held the first round of consultations on a new version of the mineral agreement, according to Sibia. Ukraine received a new version of the agreement through diplomatic channels on March 28th, he said. Okay, so he's confirming that they have received an agreement that supposedly could be signed here in the near future between Ukraine and Russia in terms of minerals in Ukraine. So it looks like they do have it right now and they're reviewing it, and possibly we could see Ukraine sign some sort of agreement with the U.S. here in the near future. But what we have been hearing from this recently is this agreement is not very favorable to Ukraine. And for the most part, what we're hearing also is it does not include any security agreements for Ukraine. And that's a big one for them in order to even sign this thing, okay? So now from the Ukrainian Review, the agreement we are negotiating cannot in any way contradict our integration into the EU, says Sebia. Ukraine is ready to open the first cluster of negotiations on accession to the EU. Sebia will participate in the meeting of NATO foreign ministers in Brussels. Okay, so they also don't want to be blocked from joining the EU. That's something they stated multiple times. We even heard some information coming out yesterday that Donald Trump was basically claiming that, I think it was over the weekend on Sunday actually, that Trump's claiming that Zelensky was trying to back out of this deal. And then also now we're starting to hear, I've got an update here in just a little bit, that Ukraine could be calling for not blocking them out of NATO as well. They might want to try to join NATO at some point in the near future. So it looks like there's a lot of major hurdles in terms of this minerals deal, and it might make it difficult for them to sign anything together. So now take a look at this from Bliskovka. Russia handed over a list of Ukrainian violations of the moratorium on attacks on energy facilities to Trump's advisor and the U.S. Secretary of State, according to Lavrov. So-called Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation once again claimed that Russia was 100% complying with the agreements with Trump. He also said that Russia and the United States are preparing a new meeting to eliminate irritants in bilateral relations. All right, so as we can see here, Russia coming out and basically stating they're 100% complying with these agreements, that they're not attacking energy facilities inside of Ukraine. But we just heard just last week that Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov was reportedly going to be sending some information over to the United States to let them know that Russia had attacked their power grid in Kherson. That was the first time last week that we heard that. Now it's happening again. So Sergei Lavrov reportedly coming out stating they're going to be sending over their own list of violations that Ukraine is carrying out onto Russia as well. Okay, so it looks like this thing is on rocky grounds right now and could collapse here at any moment. And we've been hearing that this was one of the first steps to a real ceasefire or truce between Russia and Ukraine. So it looks like it's already not looking very good right now, okay? So now from Anton Gerashenko, British, French, and Ukrainian military leaders will meet in the coming days to drive forward the next stage of detailed planning for strengthening Ukraine's defense, spokesperson for British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said. Lithuanian Foreign Minister Kęstutis Budrys and German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock have arrived in Kiev today. Annalena Baerbock announced the allocation of additional 130 million euros or $140 million in humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Thank you, Germany. At the upcoming meeting of NATO foreign ministers, we will make it clear to the American side that we should not engage with Putin's stalling tactics. It is Putin who is playing for time, does not want peace, and continues his illegal war of aggression, she said. So these are pictures coming out today. Here's Annalena Baerbock, the foreign minister, arriving in Kiev off the locomotive, and then also the foreign minister of Lithuania, Kęstutis Budrys. Okay, so both of them arriving today in Kiev to show support for Ukraine. Then we have that aid package being announced from Annalena Baerbock. Here's another one from War Translated. Germany will provide 11 billion euros in military aid for Ukraine. German Foreign Minister Baerbock reported. According to the foreign minister, 3 billion euros will be provided this year. Another 8.25 billion euros will be provided in 2026 to 2029. Okay, so huge support. Okay, about 11 billion euros in total over the next 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years. We're going to be seeing going to Ukraine. Okay, so Germany stepping up big time and providing a lot of support for Ukraine. Now, from next up, for the first time in 2025, Russia did not launch a massive drone attack overnight. According to the Ukraine's Air Force stats, the night of April 1st marked the first this year without a large-scale kamikaze drone assault. However, Russia still struck Ukraine, and Nikopol shelling continued from the evening to morning, damaging homes, infrastructure, and administrative building, reported by Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council head Mykola Lukashuk. Okay, so this is a very big report today, guys. The very first time in a long time now, for sure this year, that we haven't seen any drones from Russia fired into Ukraine. I wonder why that might be. Maybe they're moving around their launch sites, or who knows what's happening here. But they didn't fire a single drone into Ukraine last night for the very first time in a long time, and for sure since the start of 2025, we haven't seen this happen. Usually we see anywhere from 100 to 200 drones on average going into Ukraine. So it's just a picture in the past showing a Shahed drone here laying on the ground that was probably shot down that did not explode. So very big news today coming out, okay? But we do know that some missiles were also going into Ukraine today. We'll talk about that towards the end of this video. Now for Vicegrad24 breaking, Finland announces withdrawing from the Ottawa Treaty, which bans the use of anti-personnel mines. In an ongoing press conference, the government also announced that Finland is gradually increasing its military spending from 2.3% this year to 3% in 2029. All right, so Finland increasing their military spending almost 1% over the next 4 years or so. And then also, they have decided to withdraw from the Ottawa Treaty, which bans the use of anti personnel mines. So that's very big. We've already seen Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and also Poland, the Baltic nations over here, starting to pull away from this and starting to mine their borders. I think Lithuania and also Poland have already announced they're going to start doing that to prepare for any assault from Russia. Looks like Finland is worried about this as well now, and they've done the same thing and are probably going to announce at some point they're going to start mining their border as well with anti-personnel mines. So very big news today. Now from Samuli Salminen, a majority of Finns support Finland's withdrawing from the Ottawa Treaty. Results from a recent poll conducted by Talustutkimus, if I'm saying that right, probably butchering that, sorry guys, a Finnish research company. 53% agree that Finland should withdraw from the treaty, 24% disagree, 23% don't know. Okay, so it looks like more than half of the population in Finland agree with withdrawing from this treaty and are open to placing anti-personnel mines on their border, is probably what's going to happen here in the near future. Now from Vicegrad24, this country will be defended by all means necessary. We won't make things easy for the attacker. Statement by the National Conservative Finns Party at Pursuit, as the Finnish government announces that it's withdrawing from the Ottawa Treaty, which bans anti-personnel mines. Okay, so this was an announcement by her today. And this is very big news, okay? And this is more show that Europe is preparing for some major attack or escalation or war with Russia at some point in the future. We continuously hear that. We'll hear that again today. I think it's from the foreign minister of Lithuania. He stated that today as well, that Russia is preparing for war with NATO in the future. We continuously hear this almost every day. And Europe is getting prepared for that, okay? Now for military news, UA, Russia rejects Trump's peace proposals in their current form, the Russian Foreign Ministry said. Statement said that Trump's plan does not include demands for Kiev to eliminate the root causes of the war. Okay, so you guys can decide what you think the root causes of the war mean, but they've repeatedly come out stating that. Russia's foreign ministry, even Vladimir Putin's come out saying that as well. They need to eliminate the root causes of the war. But this was a statement coming out in Telegram. I know it's not in English, but this is basically what it's talking about here, is Russia rejecting the peace plan, okay? So, or the proposals at least for right now. So it looks like, again, what we're still seeing is Russia's not open to negotiating at the moment. Their demands are not being met. So until their demands are met, they're basically not going to accept any kind of proposals for right now, is what we're seeing. Now for Max24, Russia set new conditions for the U.S. to lift sanctions, unblock $500 million worth of aircraft spare parts, and allow repairs to Airbus and Boeing without involving foreign manufacturers. Minister of Industry and Trade Ali Kanov reported Moscow plans to discuss these issues at talks in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so this is what we're going to be hearing coming up pretty soon with these talks between the Russia and the U.S. here in Saudi Arabia. Again, there's going to be more talks being held once again. It looks like they have new conditions that they're lying out once again, and they're saying that, hey, we want these sanctions being lifted on aircraft spare parts and allowing repairs of some of their aircraft. So their Minister of Industry and Trade, Alikhanov, reported that today, okay? Now, for more translated, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Ryabkov stated that Russia has not heard any signal from Trump to Kiev about ending the war, only an attempt to find some sort of scheme. He also noted that the future models and schemes proposed by the U.S. for resolving the conflict in Ukraine do not yet address its root causes, which need to be overcome. So, kind of what we're already talking about here, just more show, that Russia's not open to negotiating right now. They're not seeing any signs that they're able to end this war with their demands being met, because we know Russia's just continuously coming out every single week with new conditions in order to end this war. Many people are stating right now that this is Russia doing this on purpose to stall and buy time, that they're not actually interested in ending this war. They still want Ukraine's capitulation and them to surrender to Russia. But yeah, report coming out today from the Deputy Foreign Minister Rybkov in Russia. Now from Igor Sushko, Russia food delivery couriers at Samokat, a service akin to DoorDash, but on bicycles and mopeds, refused to pick up orders for fear of being sent to Ukraine as cannon fodder. Police have been stopping the couriers en route and taking them away. So this was video footage coming out on Telegram showing this delivery service. Look at all this food just lying all over the place. All these orders just on the screen that are not being fulfilled. The drivers on these bikes or mopeds that are supposed to be delivering these orders are not even showing up, because reportedly many of them are being snagged off the streets by police and being sent to the war to fight in Ukraine. So many of them are starting to not show up to pick up orders as they're in fear of being taken away. So pretty crazy. Here's another one from Igor Sushko. Russia construction workers fled to the woods in a panic when they noticed a police car stopped nearby in the Moscow suburb of Butovo. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly if these men who were working at this construction site were fleeing due to potentially maybe getting taken away to being thrown in battle. Also, I think maybe it's possible based on their reaction, or maybe they were involved in some sort of crime. We don't really know, but I want you guys to see this. Pretty crazy. A lot of these construction workers that are working at the site are going to start fleeing into the woods whenever there's a police car that is parked out front of this construction site. Take a look. All right, we'll go ahead and pause it there, guys. So yeah, you can see that police car parked out front of this construction site. At least 4 or 5 men running out the back. Maybe they're afraid they're going to get snagged up and thrown to the war. So I'm sure this is definitely a fear for a lot of people in Russia. Just imagine people that don't want to go to war. They don't want to be a part of it. And this is, the type of extreme measures they're having to take whenever police are showing up, maybe to show up and try to take them to the war in Ukraine. And pretty crazy to think about. Imagine being some of these people that don't want to be involved in that. Now from the Kiev Post, Ukraine to deploy 15,000 robotic systems to the battlefield in 2025. Okay, so this is being reported by the Kiev Post today. Yeah, this is something that we've been seeing quite a bit recently over the last year. We've been hearing that Ukraine is deploying all kinds of different drones to the battlefield, land-based drones, aerial drones, whatever it might be, FPV drones. And they're going to be trying to deploy 15,000 robotic systems to the battlefield this year. Okay, so that's very big. And we just heard yesterday, I gave you guys a report that Ukraine was creating like a drone shield, like a 10-kilometer drone shield on the front line. They're starting to do that right now to keep the Russians back and prevent armored assaults with tanks or whatever, APVs or anything like that, or APCs, like armored personnel carriers, to attack the front line. So very big report today. It looks like Ukraine is still working on that, adding more robotic systems to the front line. Okay. Now for Max 24, Russian Railways reports that its website and mobile app have been subjected to a massive DDoS attack. The largest Russian fuel card aggregator has been put out of service for over 4 hours. Loaded trucks are standing without opportunity to refuel throughout Russia. Okay, so yesterday we just had a major DDoS attack, or some sort of cyber attack on Russia's metro, basically their metro trains that they have, their underground trains. That system was being attacked yesterday. Now we've got a major Russian fuel card aggregator being attacked as well. And many of their trucks probably can't even refuel at some of the pumps, and some of their cards not even working. Okay, so looks like Ukraine has been launching a lot of cyber attacks onto Russia. At least that's where we're assuming it's coming from. But Russia nonetheless being hit with cyber attacks on the daily a lot recently. Now from NOAA reports, the U.S. opposes Russia's proposal for temporary administration in Ukraine, according to the State Department. So yeah, this was a report coming out from the spokeswoman from the State Department. I think her name was Tammy Bruce, actually. She came out in a statement today pretty much saying that the U.S. is not okay with creating some sort of temporary administration in Ukraine because there's been calls for like Zelensky to step aside, have like some sort of UN led administration come into Ukraine, and probably that would favor Russia more potentially. It looks like the U.S. is not open to that, okay? They're not open to any kind of administration change inside of Ukraine. That, Ukraine needs to get that sorted out themselves, and Russia cannot demand anything like that. So the U.S. is not open to it. Now, for Max 24, Putin will keep his word of a ceasefire deal in Ukraine. I want to make sure he follows through. I think he'll do what he told me, and now he'll keep his part of the deal. I'm ready to increase economic pressure on Russia if needed. So, once again, we're hearing from Trump today or over the last 24 hours coming out and saying that if need be, he'll increase economic pressure. Maybe that'll be the case here in the next couple of weeks if Russia doesn't try to end this war. We keep hearing that by like April 20th, that supposedly this war is supposed to come to an end. It's kind of like a deadline, somewhat, that they're trying to reach, at least trying to reach an agreement by that day. So we'll see if it happens. Maybe if it doesn't hit by April 20th, we might see Trump try to come out and put sanctions on Russia, but we don't really know what's going to happen yet. But Trump still believes that Putin's going to keep his word and end this war in Ukraine. So let me know what you guys think on that. Now for Max 24, the European Commission has transferred 3.5 billion euros to Ukraine in the next tranche under the Ukraine facility, according to Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal. These funds will help us continue to maintain macroeconomic stability. Okay, so 3.5 billion coming from the European Commission to help out Ukraine, probably help out with their economy. So huge amounts of support being released today and just endless economic aid for Ukraine. Now from the Kyiv Independent, 73% of Ukrainians say Trump is bad for Ukraine, poll shows. This is a major spike from December 2024, when only 21% saw Donald Trump as a negative for Ukraine, a recent poll shows. Okay, so from 21% just 4 months ago, all the way up to 73%, the Ukrainians are not happy with the way Trump is handling, trying to end this war. Obviously, in many ways, a lot of people feel like Trump is siding more with Putin, so that's probably another reason why. I'm sure the Ukrainians are not very happy with the way Trump is handling this right now. So, yeah, that was a poll coming out today, guys. 73% of Ukrainians say Trump is bad for Ukraine. Now, for Bliskovka, the SSU exposed an underground PR agency, which I believe is public relations, in the Kyiv region that worked for Russian special services. 2 PR people carried out information sabotage against Ukraine, created over 200 pro-Kremlin websites, and spread propaganda in the EU. They also promoted the media image of sanctioned Russian bankers Shuvalov and Kostin. They face life imprisonment. Okay, so very big news on this today also, guys. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of sabotage operations and like potential terrorist attacks inside of Ukraine that somehow are getting thwarted. Ukraine's intelligence director are doing a very good job of locating these people that are trying to carry out these tasks of whether it be information sabotage or some sort of terrorist attack or anything like that. And they've been finding a lot of these perpetrators and catching them prior to carrying out these acts or soon after. So very big news from Ukraine. Now for Max 24, Poland will sign a $2 billion contract with the U.S. to supply logistical support for Patriot missile defense systems, according to Bloomberg. Okay, this was actually being reported yesterday, but Max 24 is reporting this today. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has urged the European Union to establish an air defense shield to bolster the bloc's ability to deter aggression. All right, so this is very big also. I mean, this is more show that many of these nations very close to Ukraine and Russia, Belarus, like the Baltic nations, Finland, withdrawing from that Ottawa Treaty for the anti-personnel mines. Now Poland is beefing up their air defense. I mean, $2 billion is quite a bit. And they're preparing for some sort of conflict at some point in the future, or at least in the meantime, deter Russia from ever trying to attack these Eastern European nations. So a lot of these countries are getting ready right now, just like Poland is. Now from Savchenko, Volodymyr Trump, I see Zelensky trying to negotiate the rare earths deal. Everything has already been decided. Now they're talking about NATO as a condition of the deal. Long before Putin, you were told you were not joining NATO because of this, the war started. Okay, so now we're starting to hear that from Donald Trump, at least, okay, from Trump himself. He said this in the Oval Office just in the last 24 hours that reportedly Ukraine is trying to negotiate getting into NATO once again through this minerals deal. Maybe that's the reason why they're not signing it. I'm sure a lot of this does have a lot to do with security concerns and agreements for Ukraine. We know that, and obviously NATO could be a huge security agreement if they were to get into it. But we know that Russia's not going to be okay with Ukraine getting into NATO. So is this the reason why Ukraine's not ready to sign this yet? There's so much information being passed around here, but Trump was stating that in the Oval Office today, that Ukraine is trying to negotiate getting into NATO once again, okay, in terms of the minerals agreement. They're trying to tie that in or something like that. Now for Raging 545, Russian maps of the Belgorod region show Ukrainian troops occupying several kilometers of the Russian border. This is from north of Kolotilovka to the area west of Popovka. Fighting is said to be taking place near Demidovka. Okay, so this is a report coming out on Telegram, probably from Russian Telegram channels, showing the area that Ukraine is currently controlling. So this kind of red dotted line is the border of Ukraine and Russia. This other black dotted line would be the border between the Belgorod region down here, and the upper portion up here would be the Kursk region. This is where we heard a couple weeks back that Ukraine launched another offensive into the Belgorod region bordering with Kursk. And reportedly, they had taken over some settlements. We heard they had Popovka taken over in Demidovka, which would be these two right here. This map's not showing that they're controlling Popovka, but they are controlling a little bit of territory in the Belgorod region. And from what we understand, the Ukrainian forces are still fighting over here. And what we also are hearing is that this is some sort of diversion to try to pull away Russian troops from the Kursk region, as the fighting is still ongoing in the Kursk region at this time, and Ukraine is not fully moved out. So this is kind of a map just showing that Ukraine is pushed in to the Belgorod region. Now from Vizhner, Donetsk region, Pokrovsk direction, Ukrainians have entered Zelene. Counter battles are ongoing. Okay, this is probably southwest of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. I gave you guys an update yesterday that Ukraine's been counterattacking in multiple areas. They're still doing that right now, okay? And this was an update that came out yesterday evening showing that Ukraine is still taking over some settlements over here near Pokrovsk, okay? So it looks like, for the most part, the Russian lines are somewhat collapsing over here next to Pokrovsk, because we're not really seeing Russia making gains over here. If anything, Ukraine is making the gains based on the information we've been getting out for you guys on X. Now, from the Ukrainian Review, Russia is preparing for a long-term confrontation against NATO, Lithuanian foreign minister announced. This is what he stated today in Kiev while he was there. There are three scenarios, just like in Ukraine: war, threats, or occupation. To avoid the latter, a deterrent position is needed, otherwise war. Okay, so that's why I told you guys earlier that, Poland beefing up their air defense systems, $2 billion that they're investing with the U.S. right now for Patriot missile defense systems, and then also Finland withdrawing from that Ottawa Treaty for anti-personnel mines. Lithuania's already done this. Latvia's already done this. Estonia and Poland. Poland's already going to start mining their borders. Lithuania's going to start mining their borders. So as we can see, when he's talking about a deterrent position, okay, that's what these nations on the border of Russia and Belarus are doing right now. They are creating a deterrent position to hopefully prevent Russia from ever attacking them. Because if that fails to work, at some point it's going to lead to war, and that's what he's talking about here. So now from Australia Intel, new Russian sources report that Ukrainian engineers have developed a solution to discover the launch sites of Russian tactical fiber optic FPV drones, allowing them to track down the operators. FPV operators are considered high-value targets. Okay, so this is a report that came out probably on Telegram. You can see right here it's in Russian, but we had it translated into English here. At least Australia Intel did for you guys. The enemy has streamlined the production of systems for detecting drone launch sites using fiber optics. It was only a matter of time. It was obvious to any technician involved in laying communication lines. Fiber optics is an almost ideal light conductor. It is enough to properly illuminate a used line at night, after which the glowing endpoint, the launch site, can be easily detected. After that, firepower is positioned in the area, waiting for drone operators to appear, after which they deliver a strike. There are two solutions: change the launch sites more frequently and implement a system for cutting off used lines. So yeah, probably what's happening here is these FPV drones that are using fiber optic cables, the Russians are not cutting the lines, they're leaving them connected to the launch sites. So Ukraine is probably illuminating these wires, or the FPV fiber optic lines. They're illuminating them and then probably using a drone up in the skies, is what I'm thinking, maybe to monitor where these lines are going to. Then, when they find out where these launch sites are at, they probably get some artillery systems set up or whatever it might be, and then they probably launch these strikes right when they get intel that the Russian soldiers have returned to launch more attacks with these FPV drones. So it looks like Russia's going to have a headache trying to figure out how to get around that, as we know that these fiber optic FPV drones are very useful right now because they can't really be affected by electronic warfare. So we know the Russians and the Ukrainians are both using those. So now for Max 24, Bavovna and Berdyansk. So this was coming out just the other night. Not sure if this happened like the night before, but we had a video coming out here on X showing an attack over here in Berdyansk. And this is the second time I've reported Berdyansk in probably the last month or so. There was some sort of explosion. So in case I missed this in yesterday's video, just wanted to show this to you guys real quick. We had some sort of attack down here. This is in Russian-controlled territory in the Zaporizhzhia region, right on the coastline of the Sea of Azov in the town of Berdyansk. And I think Berdyansk is a major port city as well. So we had some sort of fire that broke out over here, probably an attack maybe from a Ukrainian drone potentially. Just want to show that to you guys real quick. Now from NOAA reports, at night, Russia launched two Kh-59-69 cruise missiles. Both were shot down near Zaporizhzhia. All right, so as you can see here, guys, no drones on this chart at all. Literally just two missiles, and that was it. I think we did have some shelling at Nikopol in eastern Ukraine. Also, that was probably maybe artillery or something like that. But only two missiles going into Ukraine last night, and that's it. For the very first time this year, no Russian drones going into Ukraine. It's very interesting not having to report that, and I wonder the reason why that might be. Maybe Russia's preparing a massive attack along with missiles and drones. Who knows? Maybe that's what's coming here very soon in the next couple days. Now from the Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of April 1st, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. All right, guys, in our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of April 1st, 1,540 troops, 37 AFVs, 53 vehicles and fuel tanks, 9 tanks, 15 artillery systems, 46 UAVs, and 2 cruise missiles. Okay, so that's it. Not a whole lot of equipment today from what I'm seeing based on these numbers. Much smaller than normal. I think the only number that's a little bit higher than usual is probably the troop number at 1,540 troops, but everything else seems to be pretty low in terms of equipment being destroyed on the Russian side. Okay, guys, so lots of huge updates coming out from this war today on today's date, April 1st, 2025, and I just realized the first day of April, guys, so welcome into April. Hope you guys are getting ready for spring to get started here right around the corner. So again, thank you so much for tuning in for this update if you stayed till the end of this video, and also a quick personal update with me. Just a reminder, on April 5th, I will be gone from the 5th until the 14th. That's when I will return to giving you guys updates. I'm going to be going out of town for about a week or so. So I'll continuously update you guys on that. And then also when I go out of town, I'll give you guys some pictures and stuff from where I'm at to give you some updates, let you know that I'm okay, and we'll be back on the 14th. So I want to thank you guys very much again for tuning in for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.